Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to open tonight's council meeting. The Mayor is away on leave, and in his absence, I would like to open the meeting and call for a nomination for the appointment of a temporary chairperson. Councillor Brown, seconded Councillor Brett Owen. Councillor Brown, who are you nominating? Thank you. And that was seconded by Councillor Owen. All those in favour? Thank you. Please take the chair, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, councillors. I welcome you all to this evening's meeting at the Cardinia Shire Council. Please note that the meeting is being webcast live over the internet on Council's website. Councillors will be available after the meeting if any members of the gallery wish to discuss issues of interest. First of all, I'm just going to go off track a little bit here. The community might well know that Jenny Matheson, one of the founders of 4Cs, passed away just recently, and it is with deep regret that I advise of the recent passing of Jenny Matheson. Jenny was a larger-than-life individual involved in many local groups and organisation over a long period of time. Her service to the Red Cross and 4Cs was of particular note. Jenny's service was acknowledged with her being awarded the Cardinia Shire Citizen of the Year in 2013, and our condolences are extended to Jenny's family and her many friends. I'm going to open it up for my fellow councillors to to share, if they would choose, a little bit about their experience with Jenny and acknowledging Jenny in our community. So I'll open that up. Councillor Jodie Owen, I believe you'd like to start off. Thank you, Jodie.
Yeah, it was very sad to hear of Jenny's passing. I have really fond memories of working with her when I first came onto council in 2012. And although 4Cs has changed into the new building, I can absolutely hand on heart say that Jenny, yes, she worked there, but for a very small non-movable fee. But the results she got for us as a community were outstanding. And I know that it's going to be really sad to attend the funeral of someone who was a really good community person. So on behalf of Pakenham residents, I'd like to thank Jenny for all that she did for council, all she did for the community. And that's what 4Cs was all about. She started it with friends, knowing that people fell on hard times, and she wanted to give them something extra so they could maintain their lives. So I'm really upset, and I pass my regards on to her and her family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jodie Owen. Councillor Brett Owen would like to have a word too. Thank you, Councillor Brett.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Jodie Owen, for your comments. I just briefly wanted to also acknowledge the passing of Jenny. Jenny was awarded the Citizen of the Year when I was Mayor back in 2013, and she was an amazing person. When she spoke on receiving that award, she gave a fantastic speech, a heartfelt speech, and I know she was heavily involved in the move to their current premises, working with the community, fundraising, working with community groups for donations to build that facility. Amazing job. I know Jack Mitchell had an amazing relationship with her, and he was sharing with me comments about those days. You know, what a fantastic job she did. So on behalf of myself, council, I also want to pass on my condolences to her family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen. Are there any other speakers who would like to say something about Jenny? I'll indulge myself then. I met Jenny when we were locked out of work in 1998 at O'Connor's Meatworks, and we basically were on the dole. I worked picking apples for a while. Then in the end, we found out there was a food bank in the main street. So we actually drove the van down there, and I helped out Jenny. She said, first thing you can do is go and pick up some food in Dandenong. So I went to Dandenong to pick it up, and she was in a small shop in the main street, an air conditioner shop now. And they actually got funded initially because there was a drought on at the time, and they got some monies from the Farmers Federation to hand out food to farmers, but they extended that to anybody who came through who was in hardship. Then they moved from that little tiny shop to a house in Main Street. And for anyone who visited the house in Main Street, Jenny was poked away right down the back in this little room, and she had stuff absolutely everywhere, and it was full of food. And they basically catered for hundreds of thousands of people who didn't have any food, and basically could come in, and she would help them out the best she could. Before I ran for council, I knew Jenny really well, and I went to visit her. And I said, if I was to get elected on council, what could I do to help you, Jenny? And she said, I need a bigger place because I can't do anything. I'm really stuck. It's too small for where we are. So one of the main things I tried to achieve was to help Jenny get a new home with 4Cs. And that at first was the first 18 months was tumultuous. We all as councillors had differing ideas at the time, but the results spoke for themselves. It was basically Jenny's heart and the volunteers around that extended a love for people and wanting to see disadvantaged people get helped with the basic needs. And Jenny used to have a philosophy that whatever she could give families would go on be passed on to the children in those families. They would benefit most because they were the ones who wouldn't get the little snacks in their lunch boxes or different things. So Jenny did an absolutely amazing job. And when they moved over to the factory and they got a 3 year lease on the factory, I must say it was through Jenny's big heart and the organisation that the community, as someone mentioned, Jack Mitchell, and the community put a whole lot of money towards fitting it out. I think there was $200,000 spent and thousands of hours of people putting in their hard work. I must say, Jenny, the people who she helped, literally millions of meals, will probably never be able to thank her, but I know that she felt really good about what she did and she wouldn't expect anyone to thank her. So anyway, I must say to Jenny and her family, it's a really, really sad moment. She died far too young. And I know some of us will be going to her funeral, which will be on Thursday at the Turning Point Church over in Cranbourne at 11 o'clock. So, and she said she didn't want any flowers before she passed away, but just a donation at the church would be appreciated. So anyway, that's a very sad moment. I must say, Jenny, when she got Citizen of the Year, she was really shocked that she actually won Citizen of the Year and amazed that someone had nominated her and the whole lot. But I couldn't think of anyone more deserving than her for what she did to our community. Anyway, we'll commence our meeting with a prayer. Almighty God, we humbly request that you bestow your blessings upon this council, direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement of your glory and to the betterment of the peoples of Cardinia Shire. Amen. We'll also do our acknowledgement of country. The Cardinia Shire Council respectfully acknowledges that we're on the traditional land of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I note that we've received some apologies, Mr Evans from the Mayor, Councillor Graham Moore, also Councillors Wilmot and Councillor Ryan. That's correct. Thank you. We'll go to minutes from the previous meetings. Can I please have a motion to adopt the minutes of the meeting as listed? Councillor Jodie Owen, the mover. Seconder, Councillor Ray Brown. All those in favour? Declared carried. Declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations of interest? If not, we will move on. Ordinary business. The council conducts its meetings according to a consent agenda. Councillors will have advised of the matters for consideration this evening that they wish to discuss or debate. The remaining items will be adopted without discussion. The items withdrawn for discussion this evening are item number 2, proposed budget for 2019-2020, and it's been withdrawn by Councillor Brett Owen. Thank you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move the following, that 1, the proposed budget annexed to this resolution be the budget prepared by Council for the purposes of Section 127 of the Local Government Act 1989, 2, the Chief Executive Officer be authorised to give public notice of the preparation of such budget in accordance with Section 129 of the Local Government Act 1989. 3, Council hear any submission on any proposal or proposals contained in such budget made in accordance with Sections 129 and 223 of the Local Government Act 1989 at a special council meeting to be held at 7 p.m. on Monday the 27th of May 2019 in the Council Chambers, Civic Centre, 20 Siding Avenue, Officer 3809. And 4, Council consider the adoption of the budget and the declaration and levy of rates and charges for the 2019-20 financial year at the Council meeting to be held on Monday the 17th of June 2019.
Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Michael Schilling. Back to the mover to speak. Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Schilling, for your seconder. The proposed 1920 budget has been developed through a comprehensive process of review, including 4 councillor workshops and briefing councillors. So I just want to highlight this point. I've been on council for 14 years. I've never seen such a more thorough, inclusive process for the preparation of a budget. And I think that says a lot. I think councillors feel that we have played a huge part in the compiling this budget, as councillors should. Elected representatives should have, but I have seen a clear difference, and I acknowledge all the people around the table, the senior leadership team who have done this. You know, right from you, CEO Carol Jeffs, to other senior leadership team members from across this organisation. Amazing, and I just want to declare that. I'm sure other councillors will note that as well, but thank you. This budget was developed with a proposed 2.5% rate increase for 2019-20, 2.25% in 2018-19, consistent with the average rate cap that's determined by the Minister for Local Government on the 20th of December 2018. So the proposed budget, and I encourage all residents to read it online if you can, to get the full picture of this budget. But this budget proposes the following: maintain financial sustainability in the medium to long term while achieving council's strategic objectives as specified in the council plan. 2, key services maintained at existing levels. 3, adjusted underlying results to remain in surplus. Effectively manage the asset renewal program. Continue to manage serviceable debt. Cash reserves are maintained above minimum statutory levels. As one of Victoria's fastest growing municipalities, Cardinia Shire's population is expected to grow from the 2016 population of 97,625 to an estimated 192,694 in 2036. That's 17 years away, an increase of 97.4%. So that outlines the challenges ahead. This growth reflects the unique qualities of our council area and confidence in its future. It does, however, continue to place services and infrastructure and resources under significant pressure. The 1920 proposed budget will enable council to continue to meet the challenges associated with this rapidly expanding population. A capital works program of over $60 million, and some of these major capital works items are land acquisition, new works totalling $28.78 million, Lang Lang Rec Reserve, Bunyip Soccer Facility Design, Comley Banks Rec Reserve, McGregor Road and Pakenham Bypass Interchange upgrades, James Bath Recreation Reserve, Career Up High School sports facilities. Some other items are increased funding for the Officer Rec Reserve Multi-Use Pavilion, something that I'm personally pleased that Council is further committing to this project financially, and with this assistance we hope that will be up and running in the coming months. Also, a small item that's in the budget, the Upper Beaconsfield Rec Reserve is $50,000 for planning the design for that. We know that Rec Reserve needs an upgrade, particularly around universal change rooms, and that kicks off that project in relation to the design of what that will look like. So I encourage councillors for their comments, but this is a very good budget, one that's been worked on since I think early November, maybe even before that. But I just want to thank, as I said again, the CEO, Jenny Cicluna, and the other senior leadership team members to produce this budget. I encourage residents to have a look at it and provide submissions if they do wish to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen. Seconded to speak. Thank you, Councillor Michael Schilling.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen, for withdrawing this very important document. Councillor Owen is spot on when he speaks about the record amount of opportunity that councillors have had in terms of developing this budget. And yeah, I think every councillor in the room has had quite a significant say in this budget, and then have come a long way to shape it to what it is. Some of the standout points to me is we'll have a cash surplus in this budget of just over $4 million, which is actually $1 million above the forecast, which is exciting. Councillor Owen has already mentioned the $60 million in capital works. We also have in this budget $8.6 million worth of federal funding as well, which is important to note as we have a federal election coming up, that there will be projects within the Shire that will be getting funding, but at the same time that adds to council's expenditure as well, because there's a lot of projects that council does have to match. And there's some great ones in the budget, particularly around youth services within the Shire, and it's great to see that some of those more community and health-based services are getting the funding that they need to keep our community healthy. There is there's some funding to roll out our off-leash dog parks across the Shire. I make no mistake in saying that I've been a big supporter of those parks, particularly around Central Ward. And that is a project that originally, when it came to council, was over a 7-year period. And now it's going to be rolled out over a 24-month period. So that's a significantly shorter period of time. Finally, the people of Pakenham are going to get some answers on the future of PB Ronald Reserve within this budget. From the time that I was on council, and admittedly I'm one of the newer councillors around the table, I can't wait to start working with the residents around central Pakenham. I would probably argue it's probably one of the most important pieces of land that council have within the activity centre, and as we do see development going around the activity centre, what we do with PB Ronald Reserve will really set the community up for the future. So I can't wait to see the master planning happening. Out of my last few budgets, I think this is probably the best budget from this term of council, I would have to say. It's probably the budget that I'm most proud of, and it's going out to community consultation. So I'm not going to give too many more specifics into it, but I'd like to encourage people to have an input with this budget, because quite often community projects, it's difficult to get funding for them. It's not something that you meet with a local resident who has an aspiration for a project and next week it's funded. It's a long process, and if there's one thing I've learnt from this term in council is that these things do take time and they do take a lot of advocacy. So please look at the budget and please have your say when it comes time to being able to have a community when it comes back to the council. I think quite often as a community, the narrative that we often get from all levels of government is always the importance of a strong economy. And I do agree with this. And as councillor, yes, we do need to be financially responsible in order to fund the budget. I think a key point about this budget that I really like is it really does recognise that we live in a society, not just an economy. And we have to get that balance right. And by looking after people who are vulnerable, supporting our community is actually a huge strength. And we don't have a line in the budget for social capital, but it's a very important factor, because after all, happy, productive, supported people are most able to contribute to the community that we all share together. So that's a really important piece of this budget. And I do think that we've got the balance right in this between looking after people and making sure that we are in a strong financial position moving forward as a Shire. So I support putting this out on public exhibition tonight, and I am really looking forward to see the community's feedback on this piece of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schilling. Do I have any other speakers who would like to speak either for or against the budget? The draft budget, rather. If not, I will go back to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen.
Thank you, Councillor Schilling. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just want to thank all councillors. I know you've been heavily involved in the compiling this budget. We're all passionate councillors trying to get our projects that we got elected, when we stood for election, in whether it's in this budget or forecasted budgets. So a lot of work has been done for future budgets. And we can't forget that, and obviously that will be revealed in, next year and the years after that. So there's a number of items that councillors definitely wanted in the budget cycle, and that will be revealed in the coming years. And I think as councillors, you stand up for, to get elected. You want these sort of projects that you put your hand up for, saying these are the projects I'm going to support. And, as a council, you want to see those things achieved, particularly. You want to reply back to the people who supported you and say, look, I advocated for this, I was able to achieve this on council. I think that's really important. So if it's not happening this year, things are put in place, setting up for projects to be delivered in the coming years. And I think that's important as councillors as well. I just briefly want to talk about the asset renewal and upgrade. Expenditure of $15.5 million on asset renewal, including roads, bridges, footpaths, drains, building and plant, $12.3 million on asset upgrades. The major projects being the road sealing program across the Shire, the Princess Highway intersections between Officer and Pakenham, really important. We know there's been a federal government announcement, but there's a council contribution towards that. Kenilworth Stage 2, we understand and we all know Kenilworth is a real issue, but the council is planning the second stage of that, which will be a council-delivered project, not a developer-delivered project. So council is committed to delivering that section of road. The Toomuc Reserve North Oval Senior Pavilion upgrade and netball change rooms of $1.25 million. Really, really good stuff. In summary, the purpose of this council meeting is to authorise the placing of council's proposed budget on public exhibition to allow the community to comment and make submissions on it. This is a very ambitious budget which proposes a capital works program of $60.7 million, including major roads, and I've talked about that. The budget maintains all existing council services and has been achieved within the confines of the state government's rate cap of 2.5%. Operating budget expenditure totals $120 million. Deputy Mayor, I commend the budget to the council for the purpose of a public exhibition and note that submissions on it close on Wednesday the 15th of May at 5 p.m, and that a committee of all councillors will consider any submissions received pursuant to section 223 of the Local Government Act on Monday 27th of May 2019 at 7 p.m. The final budget adoption with or without changes as a result of this exhibition is scheduled for Monday, 17th of June 2019. So I move the draft budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen. We'll go to a vote. All those in favour? Declared carried. Moving on to item number 3, update on the Beaconsfield parking study, and again withdrawn by Councillor Brett Owen. Thank you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move that Council note the progress of the actions following the report to the December 2018 General Council meeting regarding the pairing, restrictions and railway station improvements at Beaconsfield train station.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Jeff Springfield. Back to the mover. Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Springfield, for your seconder. Long history, the report sort of summarises it quite well. A petition was submitted at the May 2018 council meeting. Subsequently, council undertook a parking study around the Beaconsfield railway station and reported the findings at the December 2018 general council meeting. There was an alternate motion put, and that's why we've got this report before us. The main reason why I put that alternate motion is I think this continues to be a live issue. It shouldn't be something that, okay, we've reported on the petition. We should make this a real issue. And this report outlines what council has been doing since December, been writing to the relevant ministers, local MPs, because this continues to be an issue. We know that if you're not at the Beaconsfield railway station by 7 o'clock, there's no spaces. It has an adverse impact on residents. So we would like the state government to assist our residents in providing more car parking. So we will continue. The report details the number of letters that have been sent, and our CEO are trying to arrange a meeting with the relevant minister to highlight this. There is land available, VicTrack land available, which car parks can be built. So council will continue to seek those meetings. We continue to advocate to other governments as well. We note that the federal government announced quite a significant car parking package for the Berwick railway station. So we'll learn more about that in the coming months and what that means for Beaconsfield residents. But we know that people from Casey are coming to Beaconsfield to park there because that's the most accessible car park. You know, people living Berwick South, Clyde North are coming to Beaconsfield to car park, to park and use the railway station. Extra car parks is not the only thing. We need improved public transport links. You know, ideally, walk down the street to a bus, get the bus to the train station in an ideal situation, in an ideal world. And that's something that council is trying to encourage people, the government to do as well. So this is a live issue. We'll continue to advocate, meet with the local, the relevant ministers and local MPs to hopefully get some additional car parking in the future. So I just want to highlight that this is still work in motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Seconded to speak. Thank you, Councillor Jeff Springfield.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Owen. I don't have much further to add, but to say that this is an ongoing problem, and I'm sure that all the residents of Beaconsfield and the surrounding townships will agree with me when they hear this. It's, you're not alone. This issue happens across many of the train stations, and it wasn't thought out. The planning years and years ago when they built the car parking and such, which was many, many years ago, there was no really forward projections that this is going to be overly utilised, and it should be, because you're no good going on the Monash if you're trying to get in the city during peak hour. Everything's jammed up. So this is one little piece of the puzzle. We need greater solutions towards moving our people around to the areas that need to be. So I appreciate council's efforts towards advocating for this, and hopefully we'll deliver some solutions soon. So, and thank you to Councillor Owen, who is a great advocate in this space. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Do I have any other speakers who would like to speak to this motion? If not, I might just say a couple of words about this. I must say, before the last state election, we had a lot of meetings with the Minister for Transport and the Shadow Minister for Transport. Out of the back of that, we showed with the General Manager, Mike Ellis, very descriptive copies and details of where we felt the place needed to be improved. We needed to have some crossings to go. We showed them 4. They got rid of, they're going to in future get rid of the 4. Unfortunately, the car parking section at Beaconsfield, where we actually aligned it and we said this is where you could actually put them, the extra car parks, that wasn't budgeted to come in. So Councillor Owen, I wish you well with our deliberations in the future. They know what our plans are in that area. It's just a matter of getting somebody to fund them. I must say it is keenly noted with the Beaconsfield residents there. Anyone who goes down there in the morning will absolutely observe. It's exactly as Councillor Owen speaks about. It is really, really busy. It is very congested. And when you have 6 families a day moving in for 10 years, 7 at the moment and coming in 8 in the future, people want to get a seat on a train earlier. So they might come from Berwick back to Beaconsfield to try and get a seat on a train. Hopefully some of this has been getting looked at, and we just need more parking. So anyway, I encourage the study to be looked at, and we can use that well when we're approaching the new ministers. Anyway, back to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Springfield. It's not just Beaconsfield Council is advocating for. It's the number of other railway stations. So I just want to make that clear. It's not just Beaconsfield. Cardinia Road, Pakenham, Officer. And I know we've been doing a lot of advocacy in that space as well. So hopefully we may see some announcements, hopefully. But thank you, councillors, and I move that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. We'll go to a vote. All those in favour? Declared carried. Item number 4, lease to the Pakenham Auto Club of 21 Key Lane. Again, withdrawn by Councillor Brett Owen. Thank you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move the following: that Council enters into a lease of 21 Key Lane, Pakenham, to the Pakenham Auto Club Incorporated. The principal terms of the lease to be term 20 years, further term 20 years, rental $104 per annum, rental increase annual by 3%, maintenance responsibility of the tenant, special conditions, tenant to construct all facilities subject to council approval. I move so.
Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconder. Councillor Jeff Springfield. Mover to speak. Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Springfield. I just want to say hello. I know that the members of the Pakenham Auto Club is actually tuning in tonight on our live broadcast. So thank you for listening, guys, at the Pakenham Auto Club members, because I know that they're very passionate about this. They usually meet on a Monday night. They couldn't come here in person. So what a great result. Obviously, back in February, we commenced the statutory process to work through this lease with the Pakenham Auto Club. And there was no submissions to the lease, and I think that's a good thing. No one objecting to it. So tonight we can resolve on issuing this lease. And what amazing. I've got goosebumps, to be honest. Like, if you know the people at the Pakenham Auto Club, they've been wanting this long-term accommodation, certainly for their club, and tonight they will get that. 20 years plus another 20 years. So they haven't had that for a long, long time. And I know they are rapt about that. They're excited about what council is offering them, excited about the land parcel and their future members, what they can do for young people, that driver education, respect for vehicles. It's a great club, and tonight they get that. We're working through them in relation to how they're going to develop the site, whether it's through council's community capital works grants. With a previous resolution of council, there's a possibility of funding going towards any activities there from the sale of the other parcels of land. So we'll work through them in relation to what sort of financial assistance they can get from council to develop what they want there. But I know that they've got their own funds and they're wanting to get on with it, so which is really good. Not forgetting the Kura Motorcycle Club, and we as a council is still going to work with them to find them a permanent home. They've got some land, obviously to the south and to the west of this Key Lane property that's been allocated, but we know it's not big enough for their purposes. So council will continue to work with them to get that long-term accommodation, which I personally am committed to, and I think council is as well. So I want to thank Mr. Doug Evans. I know you've been working really hard on this lease and working with the steering committee for the auto clubs and the motorcycle clubs. So I think this is a great result, and we can say that we're a part of a council that provided that long-term accommodation for a long-standing Pakenham Auto Club, and that's a great achievement. So I move so, and I request councillor support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen. I'll go to mover to speak. Thank you, Councillor Jeff Springfield.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen. I agree. I think this is a great outcome. This came to council it's a year and a bit ago or something when it first came up, and I'm proud to be part of this council, full of councillors and council officers that can achieve for their community. We identified the community need from this group, of accommodating them, and that was in the face of our commercial needs that we had for another project, and finding the balance between it. And council officers went above and beyond to make this happen and create this solution. It could have easily gone away that we just got on with our core business of moving forward and left these guys aside, but we didn't. And I think that makes me proud to be part of this council. I think it's a great effort on behalf of everyone. So I am very supportive of this, and I look forward to see what comes up with the club in the future. Now they have this stability that Councillor Owen has described. So Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Do I have any other speakers either for or against? Thank you, Councillor Ray Brown.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen, for moving this motion. I'm quite excited about it because the Pakenham Auto Club have been very, very patient with their demands. They've sat around for years, not sat around in that particular sense, they've been active enough, but they've been very, very patient and understanding of the situation that we've been in with the other project that's currently occurring there, and they've done their very best to fit in, and they have fitted in. The benefits to the community are enormous. Driver training, the fact that kids get good training, driving cars instead of going out on the road, they can do it in a confined space and they can learn. I'd also like to endorse Councillor Owen's words, a motorcycle club. Let's not forget the Coorup Motorcycle Club. They have had more patience than Job. Fair dinkum, we have stuffed them around for 20 odd years, and we are working hard to get a solution for the motorcycle club as we have for the auto club. But hopefully not too far away, we can get a resolution for both of those, in particular motorcycle. I know the auto club's been resolved, and that's fantastic, 20-year term, but let's move on now and put just as much effort into the motorcycle club. And I'd like to also acknowledge Mr. Doug Evans, because the work he's done in the background for both of these clubs is enormous. So thank you, Doug, and thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ray Brown. Do I have any other speakers either for or against the motion? If not, I'd just like to carry on from where Councillor Owen had a bit of a chat about this. I can remember when I first got on council, this was one of the hottest subjects going back 11 years ago in 2008. Coorup Motorcycle Club and the Pakenham Auto Club did not have a home. They'd been moved from place to place to place, and they had substantial memberships at the time, which were really big, and they were doing really good things in the community. I must say they do have the patience of Joe, both of those groups. They do amazingly good work. They are a great bunch of people. And anyone who sends your kids down to go down to these people to go and enjoy the facilities that they have and their hospitality and the stuff that they teach you will not be disappointed. They are a really great bunch of people. I must say that was probably, I think, in the balls up of all the biggest disappointments I would have on council is the fact that we couldn't find a solution, and we're getting closer to the Coorup Motorcycle Club. They'll probably be throwing rocks at their TV as they watch this or the computer at the moment, but we are trying hard. I know Councillor Owen and the frustration of all the councillors who have sat here are just absolutely rip their hair out over some of the things that fell through. I can remember when I first got on council, the land where they're going to go was designated to be a golf course because the golf club was going to move because Pete and Co had purchased the land where the Environment Coalition and the All Abilities Playground will go, and at the time that's what was going to happen, and they were going to have no home still. But then when that council decided to rescind the contract and keep the land for open recreation, that made the land down available under the power lines on McGregor Road down there. So the Pakenham Auto Club went down there and they put a gate in it where they could go in the front, and they've used it, and the Coorup Motorcycle Club have used it. And I must say, I think it'll be an amazing moment when these people actually move on site permanently. And they've got a really great result out of this in the end. And I'd like to think their patience hasn't been for nothing, because part of the sale of the land will go towards helping build them a clubhouse on their site, on the piece of land at McGregor Road. So hopefully we've done 50% of our work there. Hopefully we'll get to see some wonderful results down there. And I'm sure, so many people will benefit. We just hope that we can get as good a result for the Coorup Motorcycle Club, but we will keep pursuing that until we get a solution that they're satisfied with. Anyway, I just think it was one of the most frustrating things, and I know Councillor Owen has jumped up and down and done all our bidding in this room, particularly with the previous CEO, who probably hated hearing the name of it brought up all the time, and the frustration of councillors not to finding a solution. But anyway, a 20-year lease with a 20-year lease and $104 per annum peppercorn rent, I think, and then helping build their pavilion, hopefully that will be able to keep them a little bit happier and they'll be able to move forward from this horrible experience they've had not finding them a home. Anyway, I'll go back to unless anyone else has got something to say, I'll go back to the mover. Did anyone else have anything else? No, I'll go back to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Owen.
Just briefly, thanks all councillors that spoke and also the other councillors that supported the club as well with the previous resolutions of council. I look forward to attending the club and their facility over the coming year as they develop tracks and accommodation for their club. I think this commitment of council recognises that we are dedicated to this sport. We acknowledge, I think they've got over 300 members. That's huge. 300 members. You know, if footy club had 300 members, we'll be seriously talking to them about facilities. So finally, the council is committed to this legitimate sporting activity that's really focused around young people and driver education. I think that's great. So we will continue to work with the Kurup Motorcycle Club. As everyone have said, we need to find them a long-term solution. But thank you, councillors, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. We'll go to a vote. All those in favour? Declared carried. Moving on to item number 5, petition of residents who opposed the proposed dog park for Toddington Avenue officer, and it's been withdrawn by Councillor Brett Owen. Thank you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that council acknowledge and receive the petition opposing the leash-free dog area in Goldsborough Drive Reserve in officer.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Michael Schilling. Back to the mover. Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Schilling. Just briefly, we received a petition which was tabled last council meeting. The petition had 26 signatures and the prayer of the petition said, petition of residents who oppose the proposed dog park for Toddington Avenue officer. The petition has 26 signatures collected from residents surrounding the reserve known as the Goldsborough Drive Reserve officer. So council is currently undertaking some consultation with the wider community of that area. That includes discussion tents on site of this reserve, face-to-face communication with the residents, with council officers, telephone communication, email correspondence, social media polls. So this will form part of that discussion, that determination, because council has been receiving a lot of correspondence both for a park and against a off-leash dog area. So as the report says, later on, I think in June, there will be a report that will go to council on this issue, and this petition will form part of that determination and deliberation. So I think off-leash dog reserves and parks, as discussed earlier, is definitely needed. And when we went through that consultation through the off-leash policy, it was determined that they are quite popular, and there is a lack of reserves. And as the budget discussions was, that we're committed to delivering a major infrastructure for some of these reserves at different hierarchies. But we note the petition, and this will form part of our deliberations in June. I've received correspondence today about this issue, both for and against, and I encourage those residents to keep those conversations with council. If you haven't written to council or you haven't signed the petition, you've got a view on it, email right to us so we can consider those as well. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen. Seconder to speak. Thank you, Councillor Michael Schilling.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, and this is a project that council have been involved in now for quite some time. So look, I acknowledge this petition. Thank you, Councillor Owen, for bringing it to council, and I look forward to this petition forming part of our decision as we move forward with this strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Michael Schilling. Do I have any other speakers either for or against the motion? If not, I'll go back to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen.
No further, thank you.
In that case, we'll go to a vote. All those in favour? Declared carried. Moving on to item number 6, Contract 1829, Cooyrup Primary and Secondary School Oval upgrade, and it's been withdrawn by Councillor Ray Brown. Thank you, Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move that the tender submitted by SJMM Turf and Civil Proprietary Limited to undertake the works associated with contract 18/29 Cooyrup Primary and Secondary School Oval upgrades be accepted for the contract sum of $1,473,095.35, excluding GST. Number 2, the remaining tenderers be advised accordingly and the common seal of the council be affixed to the contract documents.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Do I have a seconder, please, to this motion? Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Jeff Springfield. Going back to the mover to open the move the item. Thank you, Councillor Ray Brown.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This report includes a package of works regarding the reshaping of the 2 sports fields at the Cooyrup Primary and Secondary School. It's subsurface drainage and irrigation, as well as sports field lighting at the secondary school sports field and the hockey field there. Council have been successful in obtaining 2 grants in relation to this this project. A grant from Sport and Recreation Victoria has been received for the installation of subsurface drainage on the primary school sports field and the construction of 2 bay cricket nets. A second grant for the secondary school was received from the Victorian School Building Authority. This is to include the installation of subsurface drainage on the secondary school oval, irrigation, lighting to the oval and lighting to the hockey pitch. The funding received from the secondary school for the VSBA also includes the construction of a pavilion, but this is not included in this package of works. It'll be constructed at a later date. As I said before, the scope of these works is to reshape 2 sports fields at the Cooyrup Primary and Secondary School. These ovals are much needed by the local community as well as the schools. The football and cricket club are desperate. They have large numbers and they have been using these grounds in the past, but now the grounds have to be upgraded, and we were very fortunate to receive that funding from the schools education department to help us with the upgrade of these ovals. These tenders were advertised on 26th of January 2019 and closed on 19 February 2019, and now we're discussing in April, and I'm very grateful that council officers have worked hard on this to present this at this meeting. Normally this may take a lot longer to bring this to council, so I'm grateful for that, and thank you to the officers concerned. These tenders were checked against a range of weighted and non-rated selection. Some of these include the compliance with the conditions of the contract, obviously, occupational health and safety, financial viability, locality, risk and insurance, conflict of interest, etc., etc. Also relevant experience and performance. In other words, people have delivered on this type of project before. The delivery of a project of this type aligns itself very well of Council's plan to provide active and passive recreation facility to meet the needs of our residents. It also increase opportunities for our residents to participate in a range of sport, and also develop new and maintain existing parks, etc. Throughout the whole phase of this project, the consultation has been extensive with the schools. The headmasters, a principal of one and the headmaster of other, have been very, very excited about this project and have been involved in extensive conversation with officers, and they are really keen to get this project underway as soon as they can. This consultation will continue, no doubt, as the project moves along, and I'm really hoping, and they are too, that we can get moving on this and not allow it to drag out. Funding. Sport and Recreation Victoria allocated $100,000. This funding agreement also required Council to contribute $80,000. Be good if it was $800,000. Mayor, Deputy Mayor. Victorian School Building Authority, they allocated a grant of $1.6 million, which is quite significant. Of this grant, $800,000 relates to the works associated with this contract. The remaining works, that is the ground construction, etc., etc., the remaining works are associated with a new pavilion, which will be built on a later contract as part of this project. The tender submitted by SJM Turf and Civil Proprietary Limited for this project is considered to be most beneficial. Council, and it's recommended that this contract be allocated. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. You finished your moving? I'll go on to the second to speak. Thank you, Councillor Jeff Springfield.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Brown, who is a strong advocate for all things down that neck of our woods in Cardinia. So I'm very supportive of his motion here to see this tender awarded and see this oval upgraded. I think it's going to be a great outcome. It's a good outcome for us. Over half of it, more than half of it, is funded externally, and it's going to be a great outcome for the community and all the kids down there. So I look forward to when it's all done and ready to go. Councillor Brown, you invite me down for a kick around, and we'll you show me how to do the torpedo. Yeah.
Just clarify that's a kick around of a football, not a kick around as a person. Yes.
Not one of the kids are. But yeah, very supportive of this. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Do I have any other speakers either for or against the motion? If not, I will go back to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Ray Brown.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I guess why I've been advocating this so strongly is that the Coorup community deserve another oval. They have one football oval there. They have the largest population in the south of the Shire. In the football club, they have seniors, reserves, under 8, under 10, under 12, under 14, under 16, under 18, Auskick, over 90 participants, and one female team. That's the football club using one oval. In the cricket, 4 seniors, 3 under 10, 1 under 12, 1 under 14, 1 under 16, 1 under 12 girls, and dare I say it, 1 over 60s team. Now all of this is being used on one oval, which obviously is creating wear and tear on the oval. The Rec Reserve Committee do a fantastic job keeping that oval up to date, and it's cost them a lot of money. And trying to juggle all of these teams onto that particular oval any given time with fixtures, etc., and some training nights it looks like an anthill with all the kids running around and the seniors in one corner, kids in another corner type of thing. So this is really, really needed, and not for one moment am I suggesting that this is the solution to the problem at Coorup. We need another oval at the Recreation Reserve so that the team can feel like they belong. It's not very good to have half your team playing in one place, or your club, and the other part of your club playing in another place. So I will still be advocating strongly for another oval in Coorup. Whoever I have to talk to, I will talk to. But for now, I welcome this initiative. It is a fantastic thing for our town, and I can't wait to see it open, and I certainly will have a kick with you, Councillor Springfield. But that's not a promise, though. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. I must say on this issue, it is noted that it is only part of the solution to Coorup's need. I must say your advocacy on behalf of Coorup is second to none. I've never seen anyone so tenacious about the needs of a place like Coorup, so they will thank you one day when all these things get built. Anyway, we'll go to a vote. All those in favour? Declared carried. Moving on to item number 7, contract 18/22, PB Ronald Reserve Car Park Construction and Upgrade, and this has been withdrawn by Councillor Michael Schilling. Thank you, Councillor Schilling.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation that Council accept a tender submitted by R&C Asphalt Proprietary Limited for contract number 18/02, PB Ronald Reserve Car Park Construction and Upgrade, be accepted for the contract sum of just over $588,000, excluding GST, that we advise the other tenders accordingly, and a common seal of council be affixed to the contract documents.
Thank you, Councillor Schilling. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Jodie Owen. Going back to the mover. Thank you, Councillor Schilling.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So the site that we're talking about tonight is 6C Henry Street, Pakenham, which sits adjacent to the Pakenham Bowling Club and the Living and Learning Centre. As we know, there is going to be a lot happening in this space over the coming years, and how it will end up at this point in time will be the hands of the community and future work from council. But look, I've always maintained, though, as a principle, that as the Pakenham Structure Plan rolls out, that the PB Ronald, as I mentioned before, will be one of Pakenham's most important reserves in terms of not only open space, but linking the community together and catering for the diverse community needs. What this contract will do tonight is provide additional parking, as well as provide more disabled parking bays and additional footpath links around the reserve. This additional capacity is important as we do head into the master planning stage of this reserve. These works are scheduled to take place after Yakaboo this year to avoid any additional disruptions, and we know the car parking situation in the main street of Pakenham, particularly around major events. So look, this shouldn't be something that further compounds any potential issues around parking for our major events. I hope councillors will support this tender price of, it's just over $588,000 from R&C Asphalt for the works to commence. This project has been budgeted for in our capital works budget, and I believe will be a welcome piece of infrastructure for this reserve, particularly as we continue rolling out big events in our Shire hosted at this particular reserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schilling. Seconder to speak. Thank you, Councillor Jodie Owen.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Nothing further to add, really. Councillor Schilling always makes sure he's got all the facts involved, but I totally support him in saying this is very important with how we're developing the centre of Pakenham, especially moving into the master plan. So I totally support this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Do I have any other speakers either for or against the motion? If not, I will go back to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Schilling.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen, as well, for your words. This has gone out to the local providers on this site, and there hasn't been any objection from them, and the local groups are aware this work is going to happen and are happy with these plans. So I look forward to seeing this roll out over the coming months as we can slowly see some improvements to our local car parking at our reserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schilling. We'll go to a vote. All those in favour? Declared carried. Moving on to item number 8, contract 19/03, Elmer Trelaw BMX and Skate Design and Construct, withdrawn by Councillor Jeff Springfield. Thank you, Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to withdraw the following: that the tender submitted by Common Ground Trails Proprietary Limited to undertake the works associated with contract 19/03 Elmore Tree Law BMX and Skate Design and Construct be accepted for the contract sum of $350,000 exclusive of GST. The remaining tenderers be advised accordingly, and the common seal of the council be affixed to the contract documents.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Brett Owen. Back to the mover. Thank you, Councillor Jeff Springfield.
Thank you. I'm very happy to see this come to fruition. This project's been sort of, I could say, a long time in the making, but then again, not so much. It has a bit of backstory and history. I think when I first came to council, there was petitions from the community to build a facility like this at Elmer Tree Law Reserve, and a recognised need for it, and some strong voices within the community asking for it. Timing-wise, it may feel like it's taken a long time for some community members, for council to get here, but it is a process that we go through. It was on the table that we were developing a master plan for Elmer Tree Law, and ideally, it makes sense that this, whatever happens within that reserve, would fit into that master plan. So rather than just doing it independently of that master plan, we had to go through extensive community consultation to see what that master plan looked like to best represent the community's needs down at that lovely little town of Cockatoo. And I think we have achieved that so far. And from the extensive consultation we did on the master plan, again, reiterated the need or the community desire for a BMX track in that area. Again, this has been a lot of community driven and community pushed. And I'll recognise that even recently, the community members that were helped push this met with BMX Victoria and got BMX Victoria representatives on side to explore further avenues of extra funding that could go towards the outcome of this. They had it in mind that they would like to see perhaps a racetrack that was designed and built, purpose built for it. But our officers went out and met with BMX Victoria just recently and discussed this. And BMX Victoria were very happy with the design that was put forward that we have in front of us today. And they recognise that the site requirements were not going to be necessarily suitable at this point in time for the larger size racing facility, and that they felt this would be perfect for community's needs. So, look, I hope this really does come across well for the community members that have advocated for it. I think that it will. I sure know that I'll be over there giving it a try after I kick the footy with Ray, but or I fall off the skateboard with Graham at the other one we're talking about. But in all seriousness, look, it's great. It feels like a day that we're delivering some outcomes here, and it is great to give back to the community. To identify desires and needs within our individual and unique communities, and to be able to deliver on these projects. So I'll put it to you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. We've got a flood warning over here, but it's all getting sorted. Going on to the seconder, we've got Councillor Brett Owen. Thank you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Springfield. You really covered it really well, the history of that. I just want to thank those community members. I know Kathy and Trevor have been particularly, they've sort of headed that community response to such a facility in Cockatoo, but they've been strong advocates for the young people in Cockatoo, and I know we've received emails in the last week about tonight. So I just wanted to thank those people, and I encourage all young people in Cockatoo, and I know Council does this quite well. When we're designing a skate facility or BMX facility, we go out to the schools, have sort of like a working group. Young people are heavily involved in that, and we saw that at Beaconsfield, at the Beaconsfield skate park there, and that is a well utilised park because using young people, getting their input about what they want to see, what elements do they want to see, and we'll do that. We'll go to schools at Cockatoo and Secondary College at Emerald and that sort of stuff. So we'll do that well, and I'm confident that will be done great. So I just want to acknowledge those community members who have advocated very strongly for such a facility. It's well overdue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen. Do I have any other speakers either for or against the motion? If not, I'll go back to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Jeff Springfield.
Thank you. I'm very excited about this project. Not including in the papers of tonight's meeting is some of the more outline of the design which we've had the privilege to look at, and it's a very exciting design. Beyond what I was expecting that we would have for a BMX track. And I'll just point out a couple of points here. We're going to 600 square metres of asphalt pump track can be delivered for this, and further 120 square metres of skate element construction. Because where the site currently sits, there is a skate bowl, and you would call it a skate. It's not a skate park. There's really a skate bowl, all right, and some concrete around the side. So, what this is planning to do is to construct a further 120 square metres of skate element around that. The track will be in close proximity to that, and being an asphalt track, it can be utilised by people on scooters, skateboards, rollerblades, and really ticks a lot of boxes for a lot of community user groups and different elements there, which I think is a fantastic result. They've also outlined an extensive community consultation process towards the design of this track. So how this final design is going to look will have the feedback from the community members that wish to utilise it. The kids that want to be riding on it, they can dictate which jumps are going to be where and what they think, and they've outlined a really good package of how they're going to achieve this. So I'm very excited about this project, and I look forward to seeing it. I hope it's supported at tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. We'll go to a vote. All those in favour? Declared unanimously carried. Moving on to item number 9, Contract 18/47 Deep Creek Reserve Plant Nursery, withdrawn by Councillor Brett Owen. Thank you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move the following: that Council accept a revised tender sum of $950,000, excluding GST, from Insight Construction Group for contract number 18/47 Deep Creek Reserve Nursery. Shortfall in order to deliver this project be sourced from the recent council's saving achieved through the success of the Kirirup Football, Cricket, Building Better Regions Fund Round 3 grant application, and the common seal of council be affixed to the contract documents.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Michael Schilling. Back to the mover. Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Schilling. I acknowledge that we've got representatives from the Cardinia Environment Coalition in the gallery tonight, and I think this will be welcome news from their point of view. But this report provides consideration for the appointment of a contractor to undertake the pavilion construction works required for the Deep Creek Reserve Plant Nursery. So the nursery project is located on the Deep Creek Reserve, 62 Cameron Way, Pakenham. The Deep Creek Reserve Master Plan has been developed to form a regional environmental hub that will service Cardinia Shire and its neighbouring councils, Casey City Council, Bor Council, and the entire Gippsland region. This is such an important project. We note that we went out for tender. There was a budgeted amount of $650,000 in our budget. We went out to tender, and the best tender that we could get was $950,000, so which was $300,000 over. And as acknowledged in the report, thank you for the funding that we received for the Kirirup project. That surplus is going to be transferred to this project. So thank you for allowing that to occur. But this is what a great project this will be for the Cardinia Environment Coalition. They briefed council a few weeks ago, and I just briefly, it's just so important that we talk about what this will mean for our Shire and our community. I just want to spend some time about what this nursery will mean. The Deep Creek Nursery will provide a stable, affordable, high-quality source of Indigenous plants for the Shire for the next 100 plus years. The Deep Creek Indigenous Plant Nursery will have state-of-the-art propagation facilities, including greenhouses, shade houses, and a propagation building, climate-controlled storage, and diligent provenance documentation for the regional Indigenous seed bank, a wholesale sales area which will service council, regional land care groups, developers, landscapers, Melbourne Water, golf courses, other councils. The nursery will be built to produce over 200,000 Indigenous plants per year. A retail sales area where local residents can purchase Indigenous plants and undertake a range of Indigenous plant education workshops. 2 outdoor classrooms where children can undertake hands-on learning by propagating plants and undertaking STEM-based environmental education classes provided by the EcoLink in accordance with the Victorian curriculum. Multiple volunteer sessions per week where volunteers can sort seed, propagate plants, and undertake environmental research. The nursery will be in all abilities, and volunteers with disabilities will be very welcome. Space and support for university students and PhD students to undertake scientific research on a range of biodiversity topics. The role of the CSC at Deep Creek is, in partnership with council and community groups, the CSC is anticipated to over time deliver the following types of environmental education from Deep Creek Reserve: EcoLink schools programs for years foundation to 12, partnerships with university researchers and students, kindergarten excursions, space for bush kinder programs, environmental workshops, environmental events such as National Tree Day, drop-off facilities for environmental programs such as e-waste, Indigenous planning advice and purchase at the on-site nursery, environmental information, brochures and displays in the main building foyer, environmental education signage and self-guided tours integrated throughout the site, and sale of environmental products such as Indian miner traps and native bird and microbat boxes. What a great facility this will be, and this is what this is about, Council appointing the contract to build the nursery. Thank you to the Cardinia Environment Coalition. They have been very patient. We're delivering sort of permanent accommodation for a number of various groups, the long-term groups in Cardinia Shire tonight. So this is great. What a great facility this will be for our community, particularly our young people. So thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move so.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. We'll go to the seconder. Thank you, Councillor Michael Schilling.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen. You summarised that project really well. So there's not too much more I'd like to add, but I guess I'd just like to highlight the importance of being able to connect our local community back to our local environment as well, particularly in reference to the Indigenous plant nursery. It's important that locals are connected to our local flora. And have an understanding of what is native to our area. And I do know that you can go on our council website and you can put in the region, your address, and it will actually tell you what plants are native to your area. But look, this is a much bigger picture project as well, which will deliver some great educational outcomes to our Shire. And it's been a real pleasure over the past 18 months watching this site develop, and I look forward to seeing it open. And the new home for the Cardinia Environment Coalition is well and truly overdue, particularly when you see the facilities that they're operating out of now. Something like our local environment is something that's so important. As we all know, without a healthy local environment, there's not much more, is there? So it's important to finally be able to give them a place where they're able to flourish and share more of their knowledge with our local community. So I'll be supporting this tonight and look forward to seeing it go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schilling. Do we have any other speakers either for or against the motion? If not, we'll go back to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Brett Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Schilling. Definitely, I've toured their current premises at, I think, Tynong. Yeah, and yeah, definitely it's well and truly needed that they need this facility. I also want to acknowledge the Andrews Foundation. I believe they've contributed several $100,000 towards this project, and thank you to the Andrews Foundation.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. If I can just add a little bit to what you just said, Councillor Owen, the Cardinia Environment Coalition has, like the Pakenham Auto Club and the Pakenham Cooroorup Club, moved from place to place over the years, with council attempting to try and find them some sort of permanent home. I must say, the result of this site not being sold to Pete & Co is the fact that they will get a home, and it will be a quality home. And it will be a home that they can be really proud of and take their educational groups to. I must say they've been very, very patient. And for those who don't know much about this group, if you're interested in planting days or getting involved in the environment, please go down and visit them. They're a wonderful group of people. They've literally planted hundreds of thousands of saplings of plants in Cardinia Shire in areas that didn't have plants in the past. So they do a wonderful job. They've contributed so much, and I must say it'll be an absolute pleasure to see them get a new home and a permanent home for the future, and a quality one. So anyway, if you want to just, you weren't on record with the last bit that you said. If you want to say any more, Brett, it's all fine, not a problem. Anyway, we'll go to a vote. All those in favour? Declared carried. Moving on to item number 10. Contract 1841, Tumuk Creek Pedestrian Bridges, North and South, withdrawn by Councillor Michael Schilling. Thank you, Councillor Schilling.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I'd like to move that that the tender submitted for by Open Space Infrastructure Australia Proprietary Limited to undertake the works associated with Contract 1841 Tumuk Creek pedestrian bridges north and south be accepted for the contract sum of $459,000, excluding GST. The remaining tenders are advised accordingly, and the common seal of council be affixed to the contract documents.
Thank you, Councillor Schilling. And I've got a second over here, Councillor Jodie Owen. Back to the mover. Thank you, Councillor Michael Schilling.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor. Look, this is a great piece of work, and sometimes it's the smaller projects that make the world of difference to our local community. This has been something that we've heard about for some time now, so I'm quite excited that it's finally coming to council. Residents would have seen in the recent Cardinia Connect, Councillor Ross and myself standing on the northern Tumac Bridge, which is down next to Rotary Park, which links Rotary Park over to the Tumac Reserve. And the story was about that it's set to be replaced. And as part of this $459,000 package, Council will also be constructing a southern bridge that will connect the Edenbrook Estate with Heritage Springs. And to be exact, if that's approved tonight, the bridge will be constructed adjacent to the southern end of Growler Street. This bridge is an exciting piece of infrastructure for the community and the surrounding community, as it does provide a new connection, and it will also provide our community with enhanced walking paths, enabling residents to actively travel around the estates, between the estates, and to other points in the community. In terms of the Northern Bridge, there's a lot of history to that bridge, and there's a bit of sadness as well, as the original bridge was built by our local Rotary Club. And looking back on some of the old articles and when it came to be, there was an article about 10 years ago in the Pakenham Gazette which read, which was an interview with the local Rotary Club and Ken Rook, specifically, who is still part of that Rotary Club. And it speaks about the large amount of vegetation which was surrounding the Tumac Creek, and how the Rotarians went about cleaning up that area. And that was around 1994 to 1995. And the bridge was built in 1997 after Rotary members saw an immediate need for it. They became aware that children at the Pakenham Consolidated School, which was a new school back then, had to go to the highway to cross Tumac Creek to get to the football reserve. And they realised the danger behind this, and it was only a matter of time before an accident had happened. So look, they did some consultation with the school, and the school were really grateful and happy for that to happen. So to complement that bridge, Rotary members also built a gravel path down the west side of the creek between 1998 and 1999, which has since been concreted, so you won't find gravel down there now. So I'd just like to thank Rotary for all of their hard work in activating that particular area, and I know that I'm in regular contact with the Pakenham Rotary Club, and I know that the hard work in that area isn't stopping now, and they're continuing to advocate for that park to be a more inclusive community hub. Look, that bridge has served the community very well, but it is now time for an upgrade to ensure that future generations of people can continue to use the bridge safely to cross the creek. Look, overall, I think that sum of that $559,000 from Open Space Infrastructure Australia is a very worthwhile investment for our local communities. So I hope councillors will get behind these two exciting projects tonight and get them built. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schilling. The second to speak, thank you, Councillor Jodie Owen.
Yeah, nothing further to add, thank you.
Do I have any other speakers either for or against the motion? Councillor Brett Owen. Thank you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just want to add to what Councillor Schilling did say, the importance of connections. I know there's residents down there that I know personally, and they are very looking forward to this bridge, that link heritage to the other estate, particularly for school students going to school. We know there's significant education facilities along that way, and this will provide those very important, safer links. Really good. Also, we know Park Run uses this space, and I've done it a few times. So I love that Park Run. It's a great way of community coming together. So hopefully they look at this as an option of maybe finding a new route or just another way. Because at the moment, Park Run goes from Rotary Park to Henry Road and back. And they encourage people to walk there, not drive, walk there. And this extra link will further encourage that, because people that live on the Edenbrook side, they can cross the new bridge on the south side, and walk up to Rotary Park. So hopefully they achieve more of their ambitions to get people to walk there more than drive there. But that park run is fantastic, and hopefully those users will use this space. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Do I have any other speakers either for or against the motion? If I could just say a couple of words on this. Over the last 10 years, this has been a major project that I know all councillors and people who live in those estates have been trying to get this network to work properly. Initially, we had the couple of bridges on the north end, but you couldn't connect up to the south end because there was no pathway that went under the railway line or over the railway line. So therefore, kids, when the con school was built, if you were coming from the back down the Heritage Springs sort of end of things, they'd walk over the top of the railway line, or they'd go through the Blackberries underneath the rail bridge around. And that took long enough to get VicTrack to get interested. Council built the two footpaths that sort of went as close as you could to the VicTrack land, and in the end they built under the bridge. And then as soon as they built under the bridge, it brought more people able to use that area safely. So you've got lots of people who run there. Park run goes up and down there under the bridge. You've got kids who go to school, to the con school now, so you've got a choice of schools to go to. You've got a bicycle network where you can ride all the way around there without having to go on roads, all the way from Lakeside, all the way through to McGregor Road. I must say, with the extension of the bridge going on the south end, going across to Muck Valley Reserve, there's a whole lot of really good like kids' playgrounds on the westerly side there. I know there's a Flying Fox there. I know there's an All Abilities playground there too. That with our kids, we used to get there, you had to go all the way down to Henry Road and then come back down the other side. But this will be able to have people access. Also too, it'll give people access to walk down to the Cardinia Road station. Also too, there's a few new shops in there too that they'll be able to go across the bridge through as well without having to walk all the way down and around. So I just think this really helps the network of the whole area be more accessible for more people to use and do it safely. Because in the past, some people would actually share with you that if they lived on the westerly side of Tumut Creek, they couldn't get across the railway line. They'd have to go all the way back to Cardinia Road to get across it, or go under once they built the bridge underneath the railway. So I just think this is great. I congratulate all those people involved who have tried to get it done, and we'll wait to see it come forward. I know I'll use it on a regular basis, like I use the other bridges as well. So anyway, I commend that, and I will go back. If anyone else had anything to say before we go back to the mover. If not, I will go back to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Michael Schilling.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors, for your comments. Yeah, great outcome. Around that southern bridge, each year council invests quite a bit of money in developing healthy exercise habits for children, encouraging active travel to school. And look, it was only, it would have been about 2 years ago, I did the walk to school with John Henry Primary, and there were parents saying that it would be a lot easier if there was that connection between this, with that bridge, that their children would be able to walk to school, ride their bikes. So look, there was already then, before this came to council and before these the designs were taking place, there was already an appetite, as Councillor Ross spoke about, for this to happen. So look, and another big issue we talk about is traffic congestion. Central Ward councillors get emails regularly about congested primary schools and people dropping off children and blocking off local residents' driveways. It's a common email that we probably get on it multiple times a week. Things like projects like this are how you ease that congestion, get people off the roads, get people walking or riding to school. So look, great project, and I look forward to seeing it go ahead if it gets support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schilling. I will go to a vote. All those in favour? Declared carried. Moving on to item number 11, appointment of councillor representatives to the Biosphere Foundation, withdrawn by Councillor Ray Brown. Thank you, Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move that Council approve the appointment of Councillor McCormack, primary from Frankston City Council, and Councillor Whelan, vice from Mornington Peninsula Shire Council, as the councillor representatives on the board of the Mornington Peninsula and Western Port Biosphere Reserve Foundation.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Do I have a seconder, please? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jess Springfield. Thank you, Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Following the restructure of the Biosphere Board to a skills-based board, Council's representative no longer sits on the board. We have 5 council representatives as liaison councillors on a councillor liaison panel, and from that panel we elect a person that we would like to sit on the board rather than all councillors be on the board. In this case, we've nominated Councillor Quinn McCormack and also Michael Whelan as the deputy. If you sum up the biosphere in just a couple of words, I guess their focus is to ensure that man and the environment can coexist. They're the focus point for a lot of organisations regarding conservation, the seeking of grants, advice, and all of those types of things that ensure that the environment is not damaged to an extent by man that it can't be retrieved. The Western Port Biosphere is a very important biosphere. It's one of the few UNESCO labelled biospheres in Australia. I think there's only 3 or 4 others, but it's one of the few, and I think there's only a dozen or so in the world actually, so it's well worth preserving. In particular, the Western Port Biosphere, the Western Port Bay area, with the mangrove ecosystem down there at risk. We must protect that and also the land around it. There's 5 councillors in a partnership that contribute to the biosphere. They are Cardinia, Casey, Bass, Mornington and Frankston. And I'm very proud to say that Cardinia is very active in this role. A year or so ago, one of those councils pulled out supporting the biosphere, and the biosphere looked like collapsing, the board, that it was no longer going to exist. The other partner councils put their hand up and they put some extra money in and kept it going. Now that particular council has come back to the fold now, and we now have 5 active councils participating in the liaison committee. It's something I'm quite passionate about, because I think that once you get to a point of no return with the environment and that, it takes a long, long way to even try to get it back. In lots of instances we can't. So there's a lot of fragile ecosystems down in the Western Port area, and this Biosphere Board works very, very hard to try to look after that environment. The board in itself plays a very important role in looking after various organisations. There are a lot of organisations that make up the group looking after the environment. Around Frankston area, down Mornington, Cardinia, we have officers in our own organisation that look after the environment, conservation, etc., etc. We've spoken about the plant nursery at Deep Creek, which is another thing that we're promoting things. There's plannings going on. The Biosphere promotes all of that stuff. So I would just like to endorse the Biosphere, number 1, and also the appointment of Councillor McCormack to the board, please.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Seconder to speak. Thank you, Councillor Jeff Springfield.
Nothing further to add, Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Any other speakers, either for or against? If not, we'll go back to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Ray Brown.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. There's not much else to say except that the Biosphere at the moment is entering into an era now of quite exciting times. We have appointed a new EO, Greg Hunt, not the Greg Hunt we're all thinking of. Every time I get an email from him, I think here's some money coming, but no, it's Greg Hunt, and he is a very experienced man, and he's put forward some great proposals, and no doubt that we'll get some briefings on those proposals at a later date. But as I said before, I'm very proud that we're part of this coalition, and we need to stick with it. So thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. We'll go to a vote. All those in favour? Declared carried. That concludes the discussion of items withdrawn. Can I please have a motion to adopt the recommendations for the balance of the listed items? Councillor Jodie Owen, do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Jeff Springfield. All those in favour? Declared unanimously carried. Moving on to reports or minutes of committees, I note that several reports from various committees have been tabled in addition to the minutes on the recent council briefing sessions, and these are available if any councillors wish to view them. We'll move on to councillor reports. Councillors, do you have any matters to report? Councillor Ray Brown. Thank you, Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Just recently I attended the Inland Rail Forum down Melbourne there, which spoke about an inland rail connection between Melbourne and Brisbane, passenger and freight. At the moment they're concentrating on freight. They anticipate 6 trains each way per day with a 24-hour turnaround, which I think is quite exciting for the country in general. It might not affect us that much, but for the country in general, I think it was well worth going to that forum and talking to some of the other councillors there as to what it means to them and how they operate, etc., etc. I also attended a dinner at Cardinia Football Club on Saturday, and what came out of that was the fact that Cardinia, I think it's a credit to them, they are making available transport, uniforms and all the rest of it to some Sudanese lads, East Sudanese lads. They go and pick them up from Hallam, Dandenong, one from Pakenham, I think, and they've got 7 on their list at the moment. And one of the lads got up and gave a talk, and he said that if he never had the football club environment, he doesn't know what he would do. He feels so unaccepted. But when he comes into a football environment, I think we all know, all of those who have played sport, what a football environment is. And I think it was fantastic that this club, and I spoke to the vice president or the secretary, and he told me it costs them about $7,000 a year to do that. And they're very, very happy with the boys. And not only that, they've cracked a couple of good players out of it. And this particular guy who spoke, he was about 6'4", and he was quite a likeable fellow, and I think you'll see his story in the Gazette this week. A couple of other bits and pieces, but I won't take any more of your time, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to hear those really good stories anyway, Councillor Brown. It's good to hear them. Do I have any other councillors who would like to report on any matters? I'd like to just add a little bit in this space. I must say not last Friday, the Friday before, I attended the community meeting at Tunumbuck Hall with the residents after the bushfires, and I must say General Manager Jenny Cicluna did an amazing job, and our CEO Carol got up and spoke for a few minutes about what was happening down there. General Manager Jenny Cicluna probably stood up for the best part of an hour and answered every single question that she could. She had 3 scribes, and she said, any question you want to ask or any help that you need, you come and write. If you can't write it down yourself, share it with my people and we will come back to you and give you answers to all of them. She was answering in that time questions from the community from a previous meeting. There was another 8 services there at the time. They stood there in the dark and answered all the questions until they were exhausted from the questions. I must say, driving in there in the daylight, you really, really get a really sad feeling, like when I drove through the the Black Saturday areas, that you just know the devastation of the people must feel in that place. And I must say, for all those concerned, the residents, I actually stood, I didn't stand up the front with the council staff. I chose to stand amongst the people because I wanted to get a feeling of how people were going. And the people in the crowd were really, really listening. They were considered, and a couple of people walked up to me later and they said, we'd just really like to thank the council for trying to help out the best they can and contributing where they can, and where they can't, they try and advocate on behalf of us. I must say there's a few community members up there too who've done an absolutely amazing job. They've dropped everything, they just get involved, they go and help people all the time. Which brings me to, I was invited to Blaze Aid, to one of their dinners down on Tuesday night. So I went to the Tunumbuck Hall first and had a chat with the people there. And then I went up to Blaze Aid. For those who don't know anything about Blaze Aid are a group of volunteers who go all around Australia and commit their time to volunteer to help people in bushfire or emergency affected areas. And they've cleared around fence lines, I think it's over 30 kilometres of fence lines. They've also rebuilt. No, hang on. They've cleared 100 and not. Sorry, I'm getting this wrong. I've undersold them hugely. They've cleared over 250 kilometres of fence lines, and they've completed rebuilding over 30 kilometres of fence lines. And when you go and meet these people, they get up at 5:30 in the morning. They've come from all round. They've got their caravans and everything there. They come over and they have people who donate money to their organisation to help them do what they do. They go and have some breakfast. They have big boards on the wall and they show probably 20 different jobs for the day, and people just assign yourself to go out and do those jobs. And they come back at about 6 o'clock at night, and for anyone who looks on Facebook, you'll see their faces are black because they've just been in amongst the ash and the dust and everything, and they go out all day and they work. And I must say, I just thank them on behalf of the community and council for all the hard work that they put in. And I mean, these people are that tired, I can tell you. It gets about 7:30, 7:45, and they're starting to go to sleep, and then they all move off to their different tents and their caravans, and they come back the next day and do it all again. And I had a chat with some of the people, and they just said, we go all around Australia and we do whoever needs help. But they did actually mention, they said, we would just really, really like to thank the council for making it easier for us to come here. There's some councils who make it so difficult for us to volunteer. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to let you get involved. They don't want to even give up council land for you to even put their caravans on. And they are so difficult. But they said the Cardinia Shire on the reserve there down at Bunyip, they said, you can come and put your stuff here. You can set yourself up in the tennis club and the whole lot. So they were just really pleased because they said the last thing you want to do is dedicate time to fighting with different authorities, trying to get things done. But I must say, the thousands of hours that these people put in is just amazing. And the people who who they go out to help don't even know who they are. They just turn up and they say, we're here to clear your fences. Where are you from? Who are you? And I must say, the only group who got a really rousing applause at the Tumac Valley Friday night community meeting was Blaze Aid. And they didn't even have anybody there. There was no one there. And when they named Blaze Aid, they all started clapping, these people. So I'd just like to thank them on behalf of council and the residents. I think they do a wonderful job, and I just can't speak more highly. I don't know how you really thank these people. Anyway, I said I'd mention it tonight. So if there's anyone watching, hopefully I've given them a bit of a wrap. Was there anyone else who had any reports? If not, we'll go on to presentation of petitions. Mr. Evans, do we have any petitions?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Or councillors? No. I think we had one earlier. No, we didn't. We'll move on to community question time. We've received a question from Rebecca Smith. Is Rebecca in the gallery? No worries. If Rebecca's not here, we will respond to her question in writing. So her time spent writing out her question and bringing it in here won't be not noted and getting an answer for that. We also have received a question from Nasad Modi. Is Nasad here? How are you going? I refer the question to the Acting General Manager for Assets and Services. Thank you, Miss Deb Tyson. And she will read an answer, and also too, you'll get the answer in writing as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for your question.
Your question is, people living in Arden Estate has no park or play area within reasonable walking distance. Land which was marked as a reserve in advertising material is now approved to build townhouses. In that case, would like to request Council to help the community by providing a solution. Tomo Place off Gallery Way is one of the best locations available for the park. It is covered from all sides with only one entry to the area, so it can be proved safe for kids. Again, thank you very much for your question. Although advertising material for Arden Estate may have stated that further land was identified as reserve, this was never a requirement on the planning permit or the subdivision approval. Unfortunately, Council has no control on advertising material from developers. The Tomo Lane site is not owned by Council. It is owned by a developer. However, it is recognised that this parcel of land has a number of constraints on it and not suitable for public open space. This includes a major gas and fuel pipeline underneath, it being surrounded by noise wall panels, and is located beside the future on-ramp of the freeway. It also has limited opportunity for natural surveillance, with rear fences on one side and the noise wall on the other. However, a parcel of land just over 1,200 square metres will be provided at the last stage of the development in Arden Estate. This reserve can accommodate a park and playground. However, the delivery of the reserve will be undertaken by the developer at the timeframes that they set at. Thank you.
Thank you. You'll get that response in writing as well. And also, if you choose to have a chat afterwards to the General Manager, you're most welcome to. Thank you. We've received a question from Wilma Van Elk. I see Wilma in the gallery. And I thank you for your question, and I will refer it again to the General Manager. Sorry? Oh, it's for Doug. Okay. Nice. I'll refer it to Doug Evans. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for your question. The question reads, the Cardinia Art Society, CART, is a volunteer community-based incorporated organisation whose mission is to draw Cardinia together through art. On the last weekend in September 2019, CART plans to hold the Resin Flow Art Show and Expo in support of our mission statement. This will be the first of its kind to be held in Australia. The resin and flow art sector is the fastest growing area in the art world. Our art show and expo is attracting interest Australia-wide, and it is exciting that this event will be held at the Officer Community Hub. My question to the CEO is, in view of the confusion and lack of clarification regarding the number of temporary signs permitted in the Cardinia Shire, will the Cardinia Art Society's application for 15 signs be viewed favourably? Now, thank you for your question, Ms Van Eyck. Council has been receiving an increasing number of complaints regarding the proliferation of signage right across the Shire. Locations available to place these types of signs is at a premium, and Council must consider the requirements of all groups and seek to balance the need for signage and the amenity and safety of the community. Council introduced a temporary signage on Council land policy last year, and in implementing this policy and considering the increasing number of requests being received, Council's Compliance Services Department implemented a limit of 3 signs per event. This has been the case for all events which are seeking to lack signage on Council land. The policy is currently under review and will seek to address the oversight of the initial policy, which was silent on the number of signs permitted per event. The application by CART will be reconsidered once this policy has been reviewed. At this stage, if you wish to nominate the 3 locations where you want your signage to be placed, Council officers can process this application ASAP and pending the review of the policy. I might add that signage is just one part of modern advertising tactics, with social media playing a large part in advertising. Council has in the past assisted other community groups in using these platforms effectively. And I'm happy to chat further with you after the meeting. Mayor Naik, if you wish.
Also, too, you'll get that in writing back, the response too, so then you've got something to take away as well as on video as well. Thank you, Mr. Evans. We have another question here. We've received 2 questions from Mrs. Gloria O'Connor. I see Gloria in the gallery. I refer the first question to Mr. Evans, Manager of Governance. Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Hey, Gloria, thank you for your question. The question reads, would you please advise the council process by which it was decided to provide the well-preserved historic church building on the corner of Main Street and McGregor Road, Pakenham, for use as a youth centre? What are plans for the surrounding site, entry and exit, and parking of vehicles, etc.? Are both buildings in use? Who is responsible for management of the site? And will the historic character of both the church and site be preserved and maintained? Now, to answer your question, Gloria, Council has been aware for some time that the successful My Place youth facility on Main Street is at capacity. With the Cardinia Performing Arts Company vacating the church and chapel properties, the opportunity arose to provide a facility to attract much needed services to Pakenham. The services now being provided from the site are recreation, learning and development opportunities for young people within the church building, and mental health support services being provided by an organisation called EACH, E-A-C-H, in the chapel building. There is adequate parking on site for the number of young people and families attending these programs. Approximately 70% of young people who access youth services programs are not of driving age and either walk or catch public transport. The chapel youth mental health service is by appointment only, and therefore means the current car parking will not be at capacity even when the facility has all staff on site. Finally, both buildings are in use. Council will continue to manage both facilities. Council has ensured that both buildings have been renovated to a high standard that preserves both the heritage and historic character of the buildings. And again, Gloria, I'm happy to chat to you after the meeting if you wanted any further information.
If I can just add to that, I attended the opening the other day of the celebration of the site. The youth were extremely excited. The services who come along were absolutely excited about it too. And I must say the ambience inside the church area for the youth, they absolutely love it. And it looks fabulous. They've got public toilets in there. Well, they've got toilets in there that they can use. And they were just really, really rapt. So and Councillor Ray Brown was there as well. And it was a really good feeling, wasn't it, Ray? It was. They're very excited. And the group who came for the mental health stuff, they said it was a long-term project. They'd work with council, but they didn't actually have a permanent place to deliver their service. So they were excited about it. But anyway, and the second question we have is going to be answered by our CEO, our CEO, Carol Jeffs. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Mrs O'Connor, for your question. The question is, it's evident that there have been some changes in senior council staff during recent months. Is it possible for interested rate-paying residents to note names of newly arrived officers and their responsibility, the name and title of who has left, and who is their replacement? Is there information to be on Council's website concerning staffing changes, as ratepayers who contribute to the huge revenue that funds administrative activity are entitled to know these things, and who is responsible for policy and decisions? Again, thank you for the question. And as advised at the February Council meeting, the resignation of the General Manager Corporate Services and retirement of General Manager Assets and Services has resulted in 2 acting General Managers working here for the past 6 months. We've also had a General Manager, as Councillor Ross mentioned, Community Wellbeing, Jenny Cicluna, working full-time as the Municipal Emergency Manager over the past 6 weeks due to the Bunyip State Forest bushfire, and therefore there have been leaders acting in her role. So during that time, during the last 6 months, I've undertaken an organisational review and realignment to provide a structure at a senior level that meets the council's needs going forward and is financially responsible. A recruitment process has been underway for over the past 4 weeks for the vacant roles, and those appointments will be announced over the next few weeks. I'll be very happy to update Council's website when those appointees commence in their roles and provide names and responsibilities. I'd just like to reiterate that those leaders who have been acting in General Manager roles for extended periods of time during the last 6 months have done an amazing job. And I express my appreciation for their expertise and professionalism. And thank you again for your question.
Thank you, Gloria, and you'll get that in writing as well. And also too, Carol will be around afterwards, so if you want to have a bit more of a chat, she'll be pleased to have a chat with you. That concludes tonight's proceedings, and I thank you all for your attendance, and I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.